was asked once, what is the one thing I take for granted the most? The answer seemed obvious. 1.1 billion people live without access to clean water. Every 8 seconds, a child dies of a water-related disease. There is no society without access to water. A man named Charles Fishman once said, "To say that we take water for granted is, in some ways, to give us too much credit. We don't notice it enough to take it for granted." He's right. We don't fully understand the role water plays. It's in everything. Not only do we depend on water to survive, we need it to thrive, to innovate. It's always been that way, and it always will be.
About 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water, but most of that water is salt water, 90% we can't drink. Only about 10% of the water on the planet is fresh water, and most of that is locked up in the ice caps. Really only about 1% of the water on Earth is fresh drinkable water. So if you have access to water, fresh water, you're really lucky. And if you have the infrastructure to be able to use and deliver that water to customers and people, you're lucky. San Antonio is a place where people really are keenly aware of the water supply, more so than in other places. Here most people are generally aware we get a lot of water from the Edwards Aquifer, and we also are now getting water from, we like to brag, 8 other sources now.
Water has always been vital to the growth of San Antonio. The city developed around the San Antonio River, and as the city grew, so did the need for water and a need for new sources.
San Antonio was severely crippled even with the threat to its water supply, much less an actual restriction on our ability to use that water. I have to give Mayor Wolf a tremendous amount of credit because he showed real leadership in the solutions to almost insurmountable barriers to our access to our water supply.
The city of San Antonio is growing around 35,000 people every year in population, and so that requires you to stay ahead, to do a good conservation program, and to also bring on additional supplies of water that are not coming just out of the aquifer.
San Antonio is one of the largest cities in the United States, and its population is expected to double by the year 2040. You can't grow as a city without clean drinking water. San Antonio has an advantage over most cities. We have multiple ways to obtain clean water, but it hasn't always been that way. In the dark, cavernous depths of the Edwards Aquifer lies an elusive red-gilled amphibian. When fully grown, it can reach up to 13 centimeters. Anybody who said everything is bigger in Texas never met the Texas blind salamander. The Edwards Aquifer is home to 7 endangered species, including the fountain darter, the riffle beetle, and our very own Texas blind salamander. These species are found nowhere else in the world. In the early 1990s, heavy pumping from the Edwards Aquifer significantly reduced the water levels where these creatures live. And as the water levels continued to drop, the Sierra Club filed a lawsuit under the Endangered Species Act.
We did a number of things to try to make sense out of this turmoil that was coming about. First of all, we created what we know today as a San Antonio water system. We actually had 3 different agencies: wastewater, the water system itself, reuse district, sometimes with conflicting ideas. So we put them all 3 together and signed the documents in '92 creating San Antonio water system. So that was where SAWS was born.
We had to fundamentally change the law in order to protect our water supply. It wasn't going to be easy to do that. It certainly wasn't going to be cheap. But by doing so, we could ensure that our community had a protected and reliable water supply, not just for then, but for the future. And it's not only something we should be proud of, it is something we should fight to protect.
What irony that a blind 5-inch critter we never see would have such an impact on the natural resource we never think about. But it has. And now Saws serves more than 1 million people across most of Bexar County, with 90 pump stations and more than 100 wells, pumping and storing millions of gallons of water every day. All of that, along with maintaining the nation's largest direct recycled water system. 3 wastewater treatment plants collect everything from every flush, and through a careful process, turns it into something that meets all the state and federal definitions of clean. Clean enough to swim in, clean enough to fish in. Supporting where we love to go, what we love to do. And Saws recruits the industries that keep our economy strong.
We do have a method and a manner in which we want to drive the industry here to make sure that they have adequate water supplies. When Toyota wanted to come to town, we wanted to make sure that we checked that box for them. Microsoft wanted to show that they were sustainable, using sustainable resources, so they're one of our big recycled water users. I think we're sitting in a situation where we can really say that our water security, our water future is set for the next 70 years.
So, what do you think?
I think you're a better storyteller than a fisherman.
It's probably true.
How do you know so much about this? Do you own Saws?
Well, Saws belongs to me, but no more than it belongs to you or your mother or all of our neighbors. We all have a role to play to make sure we take good care of this gift that's been given to us. You got one? Go ahead, reel him in, get him!
Today I want to talk to you about a San Antonio hero. Not Travis, Crockett, or Duncan. But first, let me ask you, what's the one thing we all take for granted the most?